I think we tried when we went to Unity House after Bob had left to run a 24-hour prayer service. And I think we did it for 2 months, something like that. And it's very tough because there were only 4 of us who would take the telephone, but you couldn't go to bed at night because you had to be up. We had and their landing. We had a world that shone at night, just like light that shines for you. Mm-hmm. And we had that world lit. So we would go up there every night and stay from 9 till 7 the next morning and take calls if any came through. Not easy. I work on myself every day, still.
Well, you know, Terry and I had that discussion before we connected with you about those of us who are on our journey, our spiritual journey, that is very much a part of what it is about working on ourselves every day and trying to be the better than we were before, and walking our talk and living the truth.
That's absolutely right.
All right, my friend. So, Doreen, tell me about the book. What inspired you to write the book? A little bit about the process of writing it and gathering your information.
Yeah, it was the reason I wrote it was because I felt very strongly that people like Thomas Merrington and Ruth Hacking, nobody ever talked about them in Unity itself. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like the leaders never talked about them. David did because he knew them. He didn't know Thomas Merrington, but and we would talk about ourselves. And of course, we knew his daughter and son-in-law, and they were just a hoot. You know, we came together to Unity Village, and they were just wonderful people. And she would tell me about her father, and I thought that was so wrong. That here were these wonderful, wonderful people who had been around and travelled around and spread the word and shared all these wonderful ideas, and they were forgotten. So I thought that I would write about it. And it was really just going to be no's, nothing else, because I'm not a writer, really, apart from prayer letters. I can do that. But and so, and then, of course, David decided he'd move on, which threw things a bit. And after that, I had to, I was still working, and I didn't do anything. I think I worked for another 4 years or 5 years, I can't remember now. So it didn't give me much time. And then one day I was sitting here and I decided to start and look at some of the Unity, old Unity books that Charles Fillmore had put together. And that's where I found a lot of the early information, that it was in the advertisements there, and it was fascinating. I just got fascinated by it, and it built up from that. And I noticed Steve has put in here, because he edited the thing, and he said 3 years. It's been more than 3 years, I think, since I started it. But then we had upsets with the family. My son was very ill, and you know, I had to move away up to be with him, and so it was delayed some. But I finished it March of this year, and I said to Steve, who works at Unity House, I said, would you like to read through it and see? So he said yes, and he edited it for me. And then he said, I think we should really perhaps print it. And I wasn't sure just how that would go. So I said, well, to get it into print, I will pay for it, because Unity England's they're always saying there's no money, and I could not live with myself if they couldn't do it. If I was putting stress on them. So I said I would cover that cost, that he was going to find out. So he found out a place to do it, and then he took it to the board and they didn't agree. So I just left it, and I thought either it will be or it won't be. It's not up to me. So yesterday, you won't believe this, yesterday morning, I got an email from him to say the board have agreed to follow through. Now, this is after 9 months of not knowing what they're going to do, because I thought, well, I'll go somewhere else and have it printed myself. And they are now looking into doing something. I'm not saying that they will pay for it. I would pay for it myself, because I feel it's important. When you get something and you feel that it's got to be done, that's how I feel about this book.
All right.
And so that's where it is at the moment. It would not be till the new year or later on. So I don't know where they are with it, but
it's in divine order.
Pardon?
It is in divine order.
Well, it is, and it's. I always think when things come to me, it's in order.
Doreen, we're kind of going to step back here a minute and talk about your work in Silent Unity. I know from my years of working with you that David was there at Unity House and served there as a director, but you were right alongside him in your work there in Silent Unity. Can you speak a little bit about that? Tell us, let's put your pencil down, sister. It's right in your face. Speak a little bit about your work in Silent Unity, how you've maybe seen it change over the years, what it has meant to you.
It has. Well, it was important to me. It was my life, really. And David had an office downstairs, and I was upstairs. So we never saw each other during the day, and I liked it that way. Because,
we can move on.
We're together, but, I was doing, we received a lot of mail and a lot of telephone calls. So, we had, we were busy all the time, but I also trained people. So we had a team of people who would come in either for a morning or an afternoon. Very few came in for a full day, but they would come in and share the telephone, and I would read the letters, so that I was answering letters as well as taking telephone calls. And that was my work, and I loved it. And then when these people came in, they answered the phone, and they were just wonderful, absolutely wonderful. And I still meet up with some of them for lunch now, because we were just such great friends and on the same wavelength. So, and then we had the 12 o'clock prayer service, which we all went down to, and for half an hour. And the day of prayer, when that came up, we had the day of prayer, and we started at 9 in the morning and went through to 9 at night. And we had a rota of people in the prayer room all the time during that time. And they would commit to that. And then in the evening, we would have a closing prayer at 8:30, so that people would come in for that and for the ending of the prayer time. What else would we do? What else? Well, we had services, of course, but the prayer work was the most important. And, I loved it.
And what years were those, Doreen, that you and David were at Unity House?
We came from, well, when we came back from America in the 60s, I went back to work in Silent Unity at Unity House. But then when we came back in the 70s, It was from that point on I worked full time. And I think to remember that in unity, once you're in unity, and this relates back to the World Conference, we are a family.
Yes, we are a
I
world
think
family.
that, pardon?
We are a world family.
We are a world family. And I think we sometimes forget that.
You mentioned the conference. There was a world conference held in England.
Yes, was.
And
Yeah.
you and David were instrumental in that, in both
Yeah.
the organization and the presentation of that conference.
That's
Can you
right.
share a bit about the attendance and the experience?
Oh, it was a wonderful experience. It was jolly hard work,
Yes.
but it was an absolutely fantastic experience. And I think there were about 750 people there, as I remember. And it almost covered itself just by a small amount. It didn't. And we worked with the European Unity leaders, and we would meet over, and it was held at a hotel in Birmingham. And it was absolutely fantastic. I remember we had a committee, and I think David was a chairperson, and we sat round, and I remember, what's he called, the chap who was in charge then?
Ron Tyson.
Ron Tyson. We sat round the table, and he said, now, who would you like to be the speakers at this conference? Well, I had them all lined up in my mind, and I said Catherine Ponder and Jim and all the people that I knew, really, and David knew. And he said, I'll put them down, but he said, you won't get any of them. They won't come here to England. And every one of them came. Every
Wonderful.
single one of them. And they were a huge success. Unity School did all the program, and we did the hotel and the organising at the hotel and the allocating the rooms and so on. Yeah, it was fantastic. And the interesting thing is, whenever I meet up with any people who were there, they're still in touch with the people that they met at that conference. And I think that's amazing.
That is amazing. And again, it speaks to the value of coming together as one world, one family.
Absolutely.
Because
absolutely.
There were people from all over the world that were represented there.
Yes, there were. Yes. We had, I was only looking at some photographs the other night, and they brought everybody. We had one person from each country that was represented, and it filled the whole stage.
Well, my dear friend, as I've shared with you before, you are someone that I carry close in my heart. I've learned much from you in my early years in international services. You taught me some very, very valuable lessons